I'm a guy fascinated with firearms, whatever context they're in, and despite seeing them in our movies and shows, it's through historical events that leave a bigger impact on us than any Hollywood fiction, documented with photography. It's like each picture tells its own story, and how we feel about it is how we feel about the weapon. In a way, the firearm becomes the star itself. So let's look at this history. J. Edgar Hoover is probably the most famous face of US law. He was the head of the FBI under 6 administrations. His role in American history has become that of power and cryptic secrets. He even rubbed shoulders with Hollywood greats, and he spent most of his life fighting against the Mafia, the KKK, Nazis, Communists, and the Black Panthers. And his legacy can be summed up with this picture. Taken in 1936 at a firing range, he holds in his hands the Thompson submachine gun, nicknamed the Chicago Typewriter. It was the greatest weapon of the FBI in the war against crime. The Spanish Civil War was a conflict that divided Spain between nationalists and the Republic. It was a war nations took great interest, from Hitler to Stalin. Many famous photos were taken, but the most well-known was this of 17-year-old Marina Ginesta, with the backdrop of Barcelona, armed with what I believe is a Spanish Mauser. The picture is in no way politically charged or disturbing. What we see is a pretty young fighter, the face of the leftist cause. Surviving the war, Marina passed away in 2014. Hollywood legend Charlton Heston is definitely a symbol of American masculinity. Not only on the big screen, but his role in the NRA. America's celebrities are kind of split over the issues of gun control in the States. But most people agree, the star most associated with the Second Amendment was that of Heston himself. This picture here in a statuesque pose with an old flintlock rifle saying the immortal words, "From my cold dead hands." Despite being a controversial figure, he gave the NRA more of a friendly face and charm, giving the organization greater attention. There's maybe one more person more masculine than Charlton Heston. Yes, Ernest Hemingway, a writer of so many classics and a veteran of the First World War. Hemingway was known as a man's man, and he led a life that proved it. This infamous snapshot of him with his double-barreled shotgun is a testament to that. Tragically though, it was the gun that he ended his own life with. It somehow shows his strength and vulnerability at the same time. Rest in peace, old man. War is always a good way of testing our guns and rifles. This famous photo taken from the Vietnam War is known as the Saigon Execution. It shows a South Vietnamese officer gunning down his North Vietnamese enemy, using a .38 revolver. The picture itself would be used as propaganda against American involvement in Southeast Asia, leading them to pull out and the eventual fall of Saigon. Since then, there's been greater understanding about the photograph. In fact, the man being executed was that of an assassination force that murdered a woman and children. And because of that, we see the picture now as an act of justice. The most famous lady who lived by the trigger was American sharpshooter Annie Oakley, nicknamed Little Miss Sureshot. She was a part of a traveling show that allowed her to demonstrate her amazing talent of marksman skills to folks all over the land, and go down in history of what a woman with a gun can do. This portrait picture, taken in the 1980s, shows the cowgirl herself with her .32 caliber single shotgun, with enough medals to remind you how awesome she was. The 60s were definitely a radical decade, it goes without saying. The civil rights movement was at its peak, with Martin Luther King leading the way. On the other side of that coin was Malcolm X, with his views that counted kings. And when he was at the peak of his power, we got this picture from 1964 of him holding an M1 carbine rifle, a greatly popular weapon during World War II in Korea. It shows a man ready to defend himself and his family, and also his paranoia. Criminals in their own right are kind of like celebrities. Despite being on the other side of the law, we romanticize them and their acts through our media. And the two gun-toting lovers Bonnie and Clyde fit this perfectly, committing a series of bank robberies with their gang. Taken in the 30s, this picture of Bonnie pointing her pump-action shotgun at Clyde shows their playful nature and the dangerous consequences of their actions. The world's most famous assassination was that of JFK, and the most famous assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald. The killing of the president shocked the world. The case of a man we knew so much about and a man we didn't know anything about. Helping the nation come to grips with it, Life magazine published this image with his Mannlicher Carcano rifle. Despite being an old bolt-action rifle, it was all this ex-Marine needed to kill the most protected man on the planet. That was just a handful of the many images out there. I hope this video gave light to our relationship with the great equalizer, and the past of the carriers of these great tools.